Привет, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Kevin, by the way, how do you like it better, when they call you the godfather of beachwave or the king of the beachwave?
I don't really mind what they call me, actually.
What do you prefer?
I'd rather be the king than the godfather.
Okay.
Yeah. Godfather sounds old.
Okay. Kevin, it's your first time in Moscow, in Russia?
Yes, yes.
First impressions, please.
First impressions was I didn't know the city was so big as well. I was really interested by all the different styles of architecture. It seems like there's like 3 types, and the fact that your city is like all based on a circle, and that you have massive traffic all the time.
Rather than that, anything else?
Other than that, I thought it was quite a beautiful city. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see a lot. I saw a lot of it from the inside of a car, so there were so many things to look at that I ended up sort of having to snap photos from the inside and wind down the windows. And every time we got out of the car, then suddenly it would just get really windy all of a sudden. I think that you've got like your weather is probably, you get like 5 seasons in a day. Yeah.
Okay. Were you happy with the show? Tell me your
I was very happy
expectations and
expectations there's always high expectations, because we want to make sure that everything's good. I thought the models were absolutely amazing. You forget how well you know why they say that Russian girls are always the most beautiful girls in the world. It's because they actually are, and they're everywhere. Which we thought was fantastic. I think the production of the show was really great. I loved all the effects that you gave us. Like I felt like I was at a Saint Laurent show in Paris or something.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Okay. How was it working with our team?
Good. Yes, language barrier, a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say something and they'd all look at me and go,
But you had some great
We had
translators?
really good translation, really good help on the translations, which was really good. Eventually, the boys understood. I'd talk about this and say that a few times. They go, yeah, I know what you're saying. Getting lost in translation is probably one of the funnier moments, because it actually makes it not so serious as well. Because otherwise you're a bit like, oh, it's too tense here. And they're like, oh,
True.
I asked for a brush and I get a comb. Sort of thing, or whatever. Or I think I said you could do a rig wrap, and they were like, and they thought I wanted something completely different. So, yeah.
Okay. We're very happy having you here in Moscow.
Thank you.
Do you remember when we met and how we met first?
I think that I remember, was it in Spain?
Yes.
Yes, I thought
Good
so.
memory.
I remember everything. I remember it was very late, I think. Yeah.
Yes. It was very fun, very fun. Okay.
You skip past that then.
One more question, they put it here, it's very interesting. They're saying there is a legend how you created your first product.
Okay. So.
And it was like on a beach.
Yeah, it was.
During a session or something like that. How was it? Just if you tell the story.
There wasn't one actual true defining moment. So I'd been experimenting with skincare on the hair, because I was getting lighter results all the time, and I found that I was bringing skincare along to the shoot, and I was more interested in what was in the makeup artist's bag than what was in my bag. And so every time I'd use something, I'd go, "Oh, that's good. Can I borrow that? Like, what does that do?" And there was a particular time where there was that particular moment where my stuff had got mixed up with the makeup artist stuff. So what had happened was the photographer said to me, he said, "Watch out for your bag over there, it's going to get hit by a wave." And I'm like, "I'm from Australia, babe. I live at the beach," sort of thing. So don't have to tell me what to do. And then he suddenly, we're like this deep in water, and he was like, "Oh my God," he said, "I told you to move your bag, and now we've got to keep on shooting." And it was like the end of the day, and it was a Sports Illustrated shoot, and I just grabbed this lotion, and it was mixed in with the makeup artist stuff, and I just put it into the model's hair, and it did actually sort of work. And I'm like, oh, hang on, that actually worked. So from that moment on, then I went back to the lab, and then we did a lot more work to it. So it was probably like a period of about, say, 6 months it took me to actually get that actual together and realize that it was actually powder was the thing that actually was making it work fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow, cool. Another one was the other idea of you to add these superfoods into the product formulas. Is how someone could come up with such an idea?
I think that we have really great labs. So what it is I go to a lab and we'll have these like random ideas. So you sit around the lab with about sort of 8 different sort of, you know, lab
Crazy
people,
chemists.
crazy chemists, and they think I'm the crazy one. I'm like, oh, I don't know that. So and then we'll just throw around ideas and we just talk about it. And I was like, well, you know, we're talking about the scalp. We're talking about how the idea of like a dermis. The dermis is like when people have the nicotine patches. So in the past they thought nothing gets in. And they said, oh, nothing gets in. And then suddenly they're like, oh, yeah, actually stuff gets in. So having the ideas of that, knowing that the molecular structure of like a pea protein is very, very small. And protein being, the hair really is made up of 95% protein. So it really seemed like it was actually so logical that when we actually said, well, can we get some protein in there? And they went, oh, well, no one's asked for protein for like 20 years. And we were like, oh, well, maybe that's probably a good thing. So, but what it is the vegetable protein is very, very small. So it's not like the protein of old, which they used to use like animal protein, and that was heavy and like again not very PETA approved. So the idea of using the pea protein was like it's just like a light bulb moment.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. I know it's a stupid question.
Okay.
But do you have an absolute favorite product? Just one. If you would have to choose just one product, what that would be?
Okay, so it's always the product that I've just made, of course, because you get really excited about those things. But I think the one product I reach for every time, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's a show, a shoot, someone's like personal hair, or you know, even on my own hair, is do-over. Sometimes do-over can be challenging because it's hard to get it out of the can. And we had a bit of challenge in the beginning, but do-over is because it's dry shampoo. So again, it's the powder thing. So it's dry shampoo and hairspray. And what the dry shampoo makes the spaces between the hair greater, and then the resin, which is the hairspray, that actually gives it like a really satin finish. So it sort of locks in. So it's having the two in the one actually is a really great product, and you can get a really nice sheeny effect, and it's not like powdery or dry.
Yeah, got it. In my professional career, which is now 27 years, I've seen, I would say, 4 generations of stylists.
Okay.
If you look back, and if you look into the future, looking back, what you would say we still enjoy from the past in our profession, being stylists.
Yep.
And looking forward, what you would say to the stylists of current generation? What are they made of? How are they?
I think that the amazing thing about hairdressing is it's a handcrafted experience, and it's one of the last handcrafted experiences we can actually have, and it's a shared experience between the client and the hairdresser. And I think that if you just make it transactional, like there's a lot of like the like express services and things like that. So if you just make it transactional, you lose something. And I think I would say to the hairdresser of today, and the hairdressers of yesterday, is just really work on your craft, because people miss that in their lives, sort of thing. So you know, we can go to H&M, you can get all fast fashion, you can buy 300 shirts and afford them all, sort of thing. But the idea of someone handcrafting you is a really special thing, and we really need to hang on to that.
If you speak with younger generation of stylists today, do they think different? No, I don't. I think that the younger ones seem to be more hungry, sort of thing. I think that we were lucky that we were given really good education. We had had school for 4 years, whereas now they're there for a year. They're not getting all of the education. They're not getting the experience, and I think that because I think with the world of Kardashian, everyone thinks it can just happen like that. And you go to beauty school now, and you go there for a year, and you think, wow, I'm ready, sort of thing, and you realize it takes 10 years. And I feel like sorry for them, because someone's told them that, yeah, you can have it all now, and you can't, unfortunately. And I find that when I speak to the young hairdressers, they're all excited about learning new stuff because they're hungry for it. So I really enjoy that part of it. And I really enjoy passing on the skills as well. Being in the school in a year, you don't get that kind of level of craft, right?
I think because it's about people as well. So it's not just about putting the brush in the right thing. It's about being able to read people, being able to understand people, being able to listen to people. It takes a long time. It took me a long time, to not have to fill the room with my voice, sort of thing. Because I think that's what happens in the hairdressing industry. Is you think you've got to be the life of the party, but actually you don't.
You've got to have your client's got to be the life of the party. You've got to be able to listen to her and read what's going on in her brain, because she can't talk to you the same way that you are. She can't talk to you in hairdresser language.
Exactly, exactly. Great, interesting. Okay. On a personal level, what's your most thing you're proud of achievement? Like the proud achievement. You're proud, an achievement you're proud of.
Okay, that I'm still here, and I've got hair. I think probably the most. I think to be able to. Okay, so in the beginning there was a lot of people who are like, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. I think being able to have it work was a really good thing, like being able to use natural ingredients for one. When we first started out in the industry, I'd go into meetings with the labs and they'd go, whatever sort of thing. No one's going to want that. And I believe that, we've come sort of full circle, and to have the industry really begging for natural things and pure, clean products, that's the biggest achievement I'll probably be able to do, is that's talk everybody into it, or trick everybody into it.
So, okay, that's fair enough, yeah. And my next question would be about your new initiative about OWP, because it's kind of linked to another achievement, I would say. So why did you decide to do that? I mean, first, why did you decide to do that?
Okay, so I had it before.
Was it a personal thing?
It was personal, yes. I had another brand prior to the brand that we've got at the moment, so it was called Kevin Murphy.
Kevin Murphy, I know.
Yes, and we were very...
used to distribute that.
Oh, did you? Okay, right. So we were sustainable then when nobody cared about it.
Great packaging though too.
It was great packaging. So I was very mindful I didn't want to come around at the end of the world sort of thing and everyone go, you ruined the earth sort of thing. And I didn't want to be responsible for 1,000 packages rolling around with my name on it. And then after this packaging, or the plastic crisis, I thought to myself, hey, this is actually happening now. Like there's 1,000 bottles rolling around the earth with my name on it. I felt like we needed to have that social conscious as well, because I think that now we used to rely on our governments to clean up our mess, and unfortunately our governments, like the government in Australia, doesn't actually even have a climate policy at the moment sort of thing, which is, I think in this day and age, is like crazy. They're like, oh, we just don't have one. I'm like, oh really? So we can't rely on our governments to clean it up sort of thing. We can't rely on them to get rid of the trash. We can't rely on them to clean up our mess anymore. And I think me as a company, I need to be responsible for the people who buy my product. So I want to give my customers a responsible choice, so that they know that if they're purchasing something, that we're actually doing it in a very sustainable way, that we're not just like, talking about it, that we are actually doing something about it.
Do hairdressers get that message?
I think they do actually. It's the one resounding message that seems to be globally acceptable sort of thing. So every time I put something, even just on my Instagram sort of thing, it's the one thing that everybody is positive about. Like I think out of like the amount of stuff that we've put out there, we had one negative comment, and someone said we were just greenwashing, and I was like, or it's just a marketing ploy, and I was like, well, it's probably the most expensive marketing ploy. Like if I could if the marketing team said, oh, can I have $1 million, we'd go, no way sort of thing. But like we will be spending millions or investing millions in this, but we think it's a really good investment for the future. And I think for our industry, because sometimes hairdressers can be the toxic avengers, and just to get that, one step again, okay, we've got to use chemicals, we've got to use water, we've got to do all the things that you're not supposed to do. So we want to give our hairdressers a chance to feel proud of what they've got in their shelves.
Right. Because here in Russia, we decided to support that initiative as well.
Yes,
OWP,
I saw that. Yeah.
And it's very hard to get the message out there to the hairdressers, because they understand that, but to make them support that, it's another challenge. So I would, if you could give them, our Russian hairdressers, some words of support and motivate them to support the.
I think the initiative that you guys are doing is really good, because you're making it really easy for them. I think the thing is, these days people have to decide that you actually have to opt in. You can't just opt out anymore. You can't say it doesn't affect me, because what's happening is most of the ocean waste comes from 12 river systems around the world, and 8 of those river systems are in Asia. And what's happening is, it's not happening in Miami Beach, or it's not happening in Ibiza sort of thing, but it is happening in my region sort of thing. So we will go to the beach in Bali, and then suddenly you've got bottles of water. I mean, bottles, like plastic bottles in the water, and every afternoon something happens that like all this rubbish just comes piling in off the beach. And the Balinese people are like, oh, and so they spend all afternoon cleaning up. The next day it comes back again, and then they clean it all up, and the next day it comes back again. So what it is it's floating into my region. Eventually it will float into this region, and just the idea of having more plastic in the ocean than fish is frightening. And I do believe the young people are much more, like you saw, there's so many protests around the world. And a lot of those protests were from very young people who may be like 18, 19, maybe 25. They're the ones protesting about the environment. I think there's a certain, like my generation doesn't really fully grasp it. So I think my mum's generation, like, what are you talking about? What rubbish? But I think that the younger generation, they're very passionate about it because they're the ones who are going to inherit it as well. And I think they've got a lot more conscience than what we've sort of had in the past. And again, big business. I just don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. So,
great. And very last question. Coincidentally, Authentica is turning 20 next month.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, and we're having that's the biggest event you're having here. And 1 month later, basically in 20 days.
Wow.
We're celebrating 20 years of Authentica.
That's amazing.
I mean, if you could say a couple of words to...
Okay. Should I say it to you? Should I say it to your audience over there?
You can say it to...
So I want to say happy birthday to Authentica. We actually love being in Russia. I was actually really excited because I think that I feel like we don't speak the same language, but we really do speak the same hair language. So I want to say happy birthday to all the people of Authentica and thank you for your support. And we're hoping for 20 more.
Thank you. Kevin, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.